On today's episode of Behind the Wheel with Chad.
Well, hi everybody. I'm here. This is Chad, and welcome to my channel and the recording for today. And I wanted to come and talk to you about something a little bit different today. Um, this isn't going to be a car video, so if you want to listen to something about the old cars and things like that, this is going to be a little different. I am here with my 1949 Hudson that we have, and I'm just getting it cleaned up because we just come back from a little road trip the other night for our car club event. But just here getting it cleaned up a little bit, wiping it off, and wanted to talk about something a little near and dear to my heart. So this involves the discussion that RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy Jr., had yesterday, where he had a press conference and talked about some things that I found important. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. It's something that really struck me. So I wanted to talk about that. Um, Ordinarily, I don't really comment at all about politics and things like that. And this really is not about politics. This is about some of the content of what he talked about relating to the food and pharmaceutical industry. And I want to tell you a little bit about my background and some people that I know and that sort of thing. And this is going to be a bit of a testimony about some things in my life and that sort of thing, and things that I've seen and experienced in my life. And you'll see why it's important. So yesterday afternoon, I was on my way home from work, and I was getting ready to leave the parking lot from the office. And I always listen to something, YouTube or Rumble or whatever on my drive home. Sometimes it's music, if I'm in that kind of mood where I want to hear music. Otherwise, it's something podcast related, about classic cars or the Christian faith, or could be anything, the news, whatever that day I'm kind of in a mood for, or whatever I feel um, led in my mind to listen to. So yesterday, as I was getting ready to leave the parking lot at work in my truck, I was scrolling through YouTube just to see what kind of jumped out at me. And the video of the press conference that RFK Jr. had jumped out at me. This is pretty unusual because I don't really align with a lot of the things that RFK Jr. Historically talked about, stood for, that sort of thing. But something told me to listen to it. I said, okay. I said, it's about 45 minutes long. By the time I drive home from work and that sort of thing, that, I can make that work. So I flipped it on and started listening. And, he was talking about a lot of different things and, politics and, that sort of thing. I'm not going to get into that. Everybody has their own opinions. But what really intrigued me was when he talked about um, the food and drug industries. And he really kind of, in my opinion, he really kind of spilled the beans on it. And the more I thought about it, I listened to the whole video, on the way home. And after I got home later in the evening, I went and took a walk after dinner and finished listening to the rest of it. And it really struck home to me. So I'm going to probably title this video, my switch was flipped twice. And what do I mean by that? I'll get into that. So, um, as I listened to his video, it really struck me hard. The things that he was saying, and I don't want to even say that it's anything new. I don't know that as regards to the food and the pharmaceutical industry, this is stuff that I've been thinking about for the last 20 years off and on, really a lot more lately than I had in the past. Just real quick, I align with his thoughts about the pharmaceutical industry. I'm very untrusting of a lot of things. Obviously, medical science definitely does a lot of good things for people. I'm not discounting that. My personal experience with me and my family has been mixed. Um, so my switch was flipped twice. Okay, that was a big flip of my switch when I heard all that he had to say. So that was, let's call that the second time my switch was flipped. Let me tell you about the first. This goes way back to when I was very young. So I remember being a child, 4 or 5 years old. I remember, I was pretty athletic at that age. Probably not more than any of the other kids. I'm not saying that I'm an athlete or anything like that. But one thing about it is, I remember I used to run as fast as the other kids, and be able to climb the jungle gym, and all those sorts of things. And I remember, being as physically fit as all the other kids were. That might not mean a whole lot to you, but the first time my switch was flipped was about the age of 4 or 5 years old. Um, and what happened was I got fat, just being honest and blunt. I got fat. And my mom has told me all throughout my life that as a all the way up through the age of 4 that I was thin and they couldn't get me to eat anything, and I was a very picky eater and I eat like a bird and all those sorts of things, and I was actually underweight up until I got to be about the age of 5. And then the switch was flipped. And um to be honest, now in my adult life, I'm a Christian man. I have Christian beliefs, and I've prayed a lot about that to God, because I won't bore you with the details, but throughout my entire life as a child, all the way up through now, I'm 47 years old. I've battled obesity and being fat and struggling with an unrelenting appetite for food and addictions to food and all that sort of thing. Um, you know, just being honest, my whole childhood was wrecked, um, by being fat. All the things that fat kids have happened to them. They get picked on, and they're the last ones picked for dodgeball, and all those sorts of things, which then led to a lot of depression and anxiety. By the time I was in high school, I wanted nothing to do with girls. I mean, I did obviously, but I really shied away from girls because I just, had no self confidence, that sort of thing. And I never went to any of the proms and homecomings and any of this stuff like that. I just kind of stayed to myself, and I was in the cars, which I'm not saying anything negative about that. Obviously, I enjoyed that, but it really robbed me. Being fat, being overweight, really robbed me a lot in my life. And I'm not saying this for sympathy or anything. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just saying that there was a reason behind it, and it robbed me a lot in my life. So um, what I mean by the switch was flipped, like I said, I got fat. And I no one knew why. So, I remember being a teenager, and at one point in high school, I'd reached 300 pounds, 297 pounds in high school. I think my sophomore year. I'm 6 foot tall. I was fat. I mean, like blubber, fat, obese. And I was super embarrassed. There was a lot of stuff, people were making all kinds of terrible comments. My self esteem was in the dirt. Even my dad would lovingly, pull me aside and just read me the riot act, and he was doing it in love. He was trying to get me to wake up or something. But the problem was, I couldn't have woke up. There was no way I could have. Because no matter what we tried, no matter what we did, I might be able to lose 10 pounds. I'd put it all back and more. I remember, as a teenager going to the doctor, my mom would take me to doctor for checkups, annual checkups and all that sort of thing. And the doctor put me on this real strict, like 1,500 calorie diet, and she gave us the standard diet sheet that they handed everybody. And it was basically just like a meal plan for 1,500 calories a day. And I remember it was a slice of toast for breakfast with a pat of butter. Lunch was like a piece of fruit and a slice of toast. And then dinner was 6 ounces of chicken, a piece of bread and a glass of milk or something like that. And lo and behold, of course, it had all refined foods in it and that sort of thing, just like everybody in America eats. And I never lost any weight. So we went for probably, I remember an entire summer, and I was really active all throughout my life. I've been actually very active doing different things. I've never been really a couch potato. Um, and I never lost any weight. So I'd eat this 1,500 calorie diet that summer, never lost any weight whatsoever. Um, and I knew there's something wrong here. Whatever the root cause of this is, there's something bigger here. I mean, all my friends in school and stuff like that. I had some friends that were heavy and overweight. But even my thin friends, most of my thin friends actually ate more than I did. So long story short, I knew that there was something wrong even from a young age. So I remember being like from the age of 16, 17 years old, I was so fat, just to give you an idea, I had a lot of problems with my toes. I had chronic infections in my toes and things like that. I was not a diabetic, never was a diabetic, but had chronic problems in my toes to the point where, after I got married, like the age of 22, 23 years old, whatever I was, it got so bad that they actually had to do surgery on my toes to clean out the infection and to redo my bone and toenails and stuff. That's how fat and obese that I was. At one point in my life, I was able to lose almost 100 pounds. Then I put it all back on. Then I lost another 50 pounds over the past 2 years, and I've put it back on. I've tried different diets. I've tried different things like that. Some things worked, some things didn't. My entire life has been a roller coaster of fighting obesity and fat and that sort of thing, and all the emotions and the self-esteem struggles that go along with it, even to now, to the age of 47. Um, where does that leave us? Okay, back to Robert Kennedy's speech. He laid out a bunch of facts and figures, statistics. I won't bore you with those. I'm not here to read those to you, but I will encourage you to go watch the video and do your own research on it. He also referenced that he'd partnered with a pair of siblings by the last name of Means, and I think it's Callie and Casey. I think that that's their names. They also have a really good, like, 2-hour video with Tucker Carlson that they did. I encourage you to look that up as well for your own knowledge. So do your own research, do your own looking into this yourself. I would encourage you. Think about this, and I've been thinking about this for a long, ever since yesterday, since I watched that video. It really struck me. It really hit me right here. Um, you know, Going back to when we were first married, my wife and I, we were both young in our early mid 20s. My wife, even from the day she was born super underweight, very premature. She fought just to survive as a baby, as an infant. She's had off and on health trouble her whole life. Right after we got married, we'd taken a trip that summer right when we got married, and I remember we were on a bus trip to Atlantic City with our in-laws. And my wife had had a lot of female trouble, and she was doubled over in pain and that sort of thing. And on the bus, and we were getting ready to leave to come home, and I said, do you want me to take you over to the hospital or whatever? I said, we'll just tell the bus to go in and we'll rent a car and come home or whatever. She's like, nah, she was scheduled to go in for like a surgery or operation or something when we come back regarding her female stuff. So we get home, and long story short, they diagnosed her with all kinds of female issues, but polycystic ovarian syndrome. She had all kinds of like these fibroid in her uterus, these tumors in her uterus, all this sort of stuff. And I'll never forget. She went in for surgery. Her gynecologist surgeon, really good guy. Um, I'm 22 years old, 23 years old, whatever I was, just newlywed. Um, he comes out and meets with me after her surgery, and he says, "Chad," and he's showing me these pictures that I don't want to see, but he's holding her ovaries in my hands, and they look like spiked road apples. If you know what a road apple is, there's these big green things that grow on trees here in Ohio, at least. I don't know where else they are, but in Ohio, there are these things that they have like spikes and stuff, and they're really big. And he's showing me these things. They're not green. They're like really angry red looking things. And he said, "Chad, these were her ovaries." And he said, "I couldn't save them." He said, "I saved one piece of one ovary just to try to prevent her from going into menopause at the age of 25 or whatever she was at the time, 26, whatever." And I just looked at him with a stunned look, and he just kind of gave me this look like, "Do you know what this implies?" Well, I mean, she's never been right since. Um, it really took a lot from her in different ways, and it was a lot for her to battle through, and both of us really. Obviously, it meant that we had no chance of having kids, which was difficult. Um, her mom passed away. My wife's mom passed away very young, relatively young, in her early mid 50s with cancer, an adrenal cancer. There's been countless people that I know that have had cancer in early ages. um, at our church, we had two girls die of cancer at the age of 18 over the last 20 years. These things aren't normal. And I've been thinking about all this for a long, long time. And the modern medical industry is literally, I've felt this way for a long time, that the modern medical industry is just pushes meds on people. And so many people, I mean, when you stop and think about how many people that have chronic illnesses and diseases that they cannot cure, diabetics, adrenal, metabolic syndromes, cancers, heart diseases, neurological problems. I know at least two men who have Lou Gehrig's disease. Obviously, things happened all throughout history, but not to the level that it is over the last 30 years. There's stuff going on. And even my mom's 77, and her and I have talked about this many times over the course of time. She's like, "This isn't the way it used to be." It's not that people didn't die of cancer and things like that, but it was much more rare, and they were old. These people were well up in their 70s before they would succumb to cancer for the most part. And now it's cancer is almost just routine, and so when I heard these statistics from Robert Kennedy and the brother and sister, the siblings, the means that he was working with, it's like, man, this makes sense. Um, when you look at the number of people that have breast cancer, the women that have breast cancer, and the women that have ovarian cancer at young ages, these are women in childbearing ages are having to have mastectomies and being treated for female cancers and things in their 30s and sometimes even in their 20s. I know at least two girls in their 20s that have had female cancers, probably not able to have children. This isn't normal. And we know it's not normal. But beyond that, it's just your routine day to day adult life of pills and taking medications. And it's just become commonplace and standard protocol. There's another word that I hate, protocol. You go to the doctor for something, they send you to a specialist. Immediately, you go to a specialist, and then you're put into a protocol. So, whether you have high blood pressure, or whether you're a pre-diabetic or you're a diabetic, or you have some other autoimmune disease, which that we could write a book about autoimmune diseases. There are a million books about autoimmune diseases. So when you think about this, when they figure out what you've got, which usually at that point into specialty medical care, you're seeing a specialist, and then you're on a plethora of medications. Okay, those medications, they're saving people's lives, but what's the root? What's the truth? Um, the truth of the matter is there's a root cause to all this, and they contend, Robert Kennedy and this couple and a lot of other people too, contend that it's the food that we eat that causes all kinds of issues, and the chemicals that we're exposed to in our environments and all those sorts of things. Just the modern world that we live. And so, what do we do about it? I don't have an answer for that. I was thinking about that this afternoon, before I decided to record this. What do we do about it? Well, I've been praying about that for a long time because I knew that something was off. I knew that modern medical care is not effective. It's keeping people alive for the most part, unless you have uh, a really bad untreatable disease, they can keep you alive, but what's your quality of life? I mean, there are people that I know in my 40s and 50s walking around with horrific quality of life. They've had strokes, they've had multiple, the key word here ever since COVID has been comorbidities. You've been hearing that word a lot. Heart disease, strokes, diabetics, autoimmune diseases. There's so many people in their 40s and 50s walking around with this stuff. And everybody's, fighting weight battles and depression and mental illnesses and that sort of thing, anxiety problems. Kids are facing, all sorts of childhood mental issues, autism, all these things. This isn't normal. And so yesterday, that switch in me was flipped. I've been praying about it. I'm asking God about it as a Christian man. I don't know what this is going to lead to, but I'm very thankful that the people now have a platform. And so many people have been awakened. I shared this on my Facebook account last night. It hit me that much. And I've had so many people reaching out to me, commenting back, sending me private messages. And so many people have reached out to me about this and said, we're changing how we live. We've known this for a long time. We've been doing our research on this stuff. And I couldn't agree more. So I encourage you to do your research. If you're a Christian person and you have faith, I encourage you to pray about it. And um, I really hope that this platform really gets some legs and it really gets some traction because I'm tired of watching people be sick and die. I've really been praying to God about for the past couple years about healing ministry. It's in the Bible. I don't want to make this a, uh, a theological discussion in this because that's not what this my YouTube channel is about primarily. But we do have a separate, me and two pastors that I'm friends and related to. We have our own uplift. It's called Uplift. If you look it up on the Fulcrum Center on YouTube and on podcasts, where we talk about those sorts of things. But there's got to be more to healing for sick people. And I really believe that probably 90% of the people now that are adults and children need physical health healing. And not only that, but mentally in all regards. So I wanted to record this video to kind of give a little bit of my background story. And, this is super near and dear to my heart. I'm passionate about it. And I encourage you to do your own research and watch these videos from RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy Jr., and the means, and as well as many others. One other last thing I'll leave you with was about a year and a half ago, I've been battling my own health issues, lots of digestive issues and mental issues and otherwise. I sought the help and care of a functional medicine doctor, and he was a Christian man. He's got a full blown practice in functional medicine. I went down that path for probably a year. It didn't work for me. I lost a lot of weight. It didn't agree with my body. My body didn't agree with it. And I think it was because I was trying to do it on my own will. It wasn't necessarily the right thing for me looking back. I don't regret it, but I've learned that that particular aspect of it wasn't right for me. But I did learn a lot of similar things going down that path to what this topic of what's been released yesterday from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and all that information. So this isn't new, but it's getting a platform. It's getting a public platform, and I think that that's super important for you, me, and all the people that we care about. So if you've watched this long, I thank you, and I want to leave one last comment. So this is our 1949 Hudson. Um, Give me your opinion. I'm seriously thinking about getting the car painted. So just kind of leaving the last part of this video about the old cars. The paint on this car. If you saw this car in person, we call this about a 30 footer. It doesn't look bad from 30 feet, and then the pictures that we take. But when you get up close, the paint's really seen its life. And my touch-up attempts have held it together until we figure out long term. So drop me a comment if you've watched this far. Let me know if you think we ought to paint the car. We love the color, but the paint's pretty well gone off of it for the most part. So we're debating about that. We really enjoy this car. We take it on a lot of road trips. We took it up to Erie, PA. I recorded that on video and uploaded it onto my channel from back in July. So I encourage you to watch that. It was a National Hudson meet in Erie, PA this year. And so I wanted to leave you with that. This is an old car channel primarily. I wanted to leave you with that. But thank you for watching. Um, really consider the information, and then either if you're a Christian person, take it to God, pray about it. And if not, give it thought yourself. Where are we going to go with this? What are we going to do with it? Too many people that we know are battling illnesses and sicknesses, and it's not right. It's not good. It robs people of their quality of life and sometimes their lives, and it affects families. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.